Marilyn.
Thank you, Julia. We'll call the meeting to order at 9:03, effective March 27th. Wow. 2020, the Mendocino County Planning Commission meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to State Order, Executive Order N-29-20. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page at https://www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during this time of emergency, the public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made immediately available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public as they are received and processed by staff, and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda at the Planning Commission agenda page. Requests for telecomment are required to be submitted prior to 7 a.m. this morning or the morning of the meeting. If you requested to speak under public expression, please call in now. Can we have a roll call vote, please? I don't see Jim here. Is Jim on?
Right over here.
Okay, I guess he's not on.
Just hidden off the camera.
Commissioner Wiedemann.
Here.
Commissioner Jacob Zune.
Oh, yeah.
Did he say something?
He unmuted. Oh, yeah, we got it here. Okay, there we go.
Commissioner Holtkamp.
Here.
Commissioner Purnell. Commissioner Nelson.
Here.
Chair Ogle.
Here. Thank you. Jim, do we have a determination of legal notice?
All items on the agenda have been properly noticed.
Thank you, sir. And do we have on item number 3, the director's report? Do we have a director's report today?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Brent Schultz, Planning and Building Services Director. I have no report for the commission, but obviously, we're all available to answer any questions about anything going on that you've heard about, but nothing really to report right now.
I have a question. When is the rangeland issue coming up?
Is that the zoning, the cannabis ordinance and the zoning table? Julie is working feverishly on that ordinance right now, and we are that will come back to the Planning Commission when it's done sometime next year. I'm thinking, Julia, February at the best.
Yeah, I don't want to commit too much to a timeline on that because we are still drafting and working through it, but it will be in the beginning of 2021 that we're expecting to come forward with that.
It's got, we have to look at the CEQA issues on that before we bring it to the commission and a number of other issues we're working on. But once that's ready, that needs to come back to the commission for consideration and then to the board after that, of course.
Thank you.
I have a question on that same topic. Are we going to have a workshop on that ahead of time before it comes? Is there going to be some kind of a walkthrough so we don't, that we understand, the new items to the old items, the changes, and rather than do it at a meeting where we're trying to approve something?
We had not planned to do it as a workshop, only because it's really focusing on amendments to the existing ordinance and bringing this more into a discretionary permit model. We will make sure, though, that the day that item comes forward is a light agenda, so that way there's plenty of time. And we fully understand, and this has happened previously as well, that the commission, you may have questions when you review it initially, and it may be that you are not able to reach a decision at the first hearing. That has happened before with cannabis items, but we had not intended to do a workshop. However, I'm unsure if you would like for staff to do some level of a, kind of introduction of it. We would just want to agendize it for a future meeting and do a certain discussion about it.
I would like that. And the reason is because we're virtual, and if we are still virtual by then, it's very difficult individually to call and talk to either of any staff member individually when we're on a board, a commission, where I totally, my thought process and my exchanges with the total commission at these hearings are really meaningful to, find the correct solutions. And so when we do it individually because of COVID, I feel like I'm in a vacuum. I don't know if any other, so I would really like at least something agendized the meeting before to walk us through what to expect.
Sure. It would likely be focused on the direction that we received from the Board of Supervisors. So I'll work with our County Council's office and work on some language for agendizing that for a future meeting.
And in the interim, Commissioner Wiedemann, if you want a copy of the zoning table, we'd be happy, Chair Ogle, if you want to send you out a copy to all the commissioners of the new zoning table that the board, approved. But, still, that's not the ordinance. Now it's got to come back through that process. So it's not done. It's just, they approved this table, but we could show you the old table too. And we're trying to, just so you know, Julia and I have been trying to align this. So our permitted types of, the permitted types of grows and cultivations align with state law. Our original one was done before state law and they did different licensing types. So we're trying to eliminate confusion in the thing for us and our applicants.
Right. That would be great.
So I think what I'm hearing, Brent, is the commissioners would like a copy of that if you could. I don't know if you're emailing that or sending a copy or.
We could email it out to everyone. That'd be no problem.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the director? Oops, okay, seeing none, we'll go on with item number 4. Matters from the public. The Planning Commission welcomes participation in commission meetings. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the commission that are not on the posted agenda and items which have not already been considered by the commission. No action will be taken. Individuals wishing to address the commission in their public expression are welcome to do so via telecomment or email in lieu of personal attendance. Email shall be sent to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. All correspondence received will be made available on the Planning Commission agenda page. To submit public comments via telecomment, a request form must have been received by 7 o'clock this morning. Do we have any requests for telecomment under public expression?
There's been no telecomments submitted under public expression.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Item number 5 is the consent calendar, of which we have no items. So we'll go on to item number 6A, the regular calendar. Our first case is MS underscore 2017-0006. The applicant is O'Bergen. So I guess we will have staff read the case and the request.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Sam Vandy Vandewater, Planning and Building. So before you, I have a minor subdivision request. This request is to subdivide a 45-acre parcel into 2 parcels of roughly 24.5 acres and 20.2 acres. Included in the request is an exception request to reduce the road width from 20 feet to 16 feet. This project is located roughly 3 miles southwest of the Willits Town Center on the west side of Buckhorn Road, about 1 mile south of its intersection with Muir Mill Road. It has an address of 1601 Buckhorn Road. The zoning for this parcel is remote residential the general plan is remote residential with a zoning of upland residential 20-acre minimum. The project was referred out to agencies on August 8th, 2017, and we only received comments from the Air Quality Management District, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Environmental Health. And so the Department of Transportation and the Department of Environmental Health provided their recommended conditions at the subdivision committee. The project was found to be consistent with the general plan designation as well as the zoning district designation. At the subdivision committee on February 8th, 2018, the project was heard by the committee and was found that there was no conflicts with the county division of land regulations. Additionally, the project went through an initial study and a negative declaration was prepared for the project, finding that no major components of the project would have any environmental impacts. And just lastly, before I make my recommendation, Amber Fissette from the Department of Transportation had reached out to me yesterday after speaking with the project applicant. And there were two conditions that needed to be amended. So the memo just provides those updated condition number 21 and condition number 22. Additionally, just to facilitate flexibility between the Department of Transportation and the project applicant, Amber requested that all DOT conditions, which is 18 through 27, obtain or have an additional statement added onto it that allows for the flexibility of DOT to accept alternatives to the recommended conditions. And with that, I recommend approval of the project with the adoption of a negative declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandy. Do we have any questions for staff from any of the commissioners? I have a couple. I was a little confused, and it relates to the changes that Amber requested. I discussed this with Julia last night. I was a little confused on the items 20, 21, and 24. They all kind of seem to collide. And I don't know, Julia, were you going to kind of work on that, or did Amber's email address that?
This, the revised memorandum that Mr. Vandewater just spoke about, which revises condition 21, that addresses the concern we talked about, because there was the discussion about reducing the width of the roadway to 16 feet, and there had been that slight conflicting language that had still talked about a 22-foot wide roadway. And so if the commission grants the exception down to 16 feet, then the conditions that Mr. Vandewater just noted as being modified would be correct. So those conditions, you see it's condition 21 and condition 25 in the memorandum that he prepared, which is posted to this item. And then the last item that he was mentioning was requested by transportation, was just to provide some additional flexibility in if there's other deviations that may be required, that it can be done to the satisfaction of the Department of Transportation, rather than having the rigid application of the condition or requiring coming back for a modification. And then I do want to note, we do have Amber Fissette here available on the line from the Department of Transportation too, if you have any specific questions for transportation.
Thank you. I do see Diana has a question.
Yeah. Yes. On the road, and the couple issues for me when it's I understand Mill Road is a public county road maintained by the county. Is the Buckhorn Road, which they say a private county road, is it maintained by the county, or is it really a totally private road? And then once I get that answer, well, let me get that answer first.
So the Buckhorn Road is a private road, so
Okay.
it's not maintained by the county.
Right, okay. So I would like to have, my understanding was any kind of subdivision needed to be contiguous to a county maintained road. And even a minor subdivision. So just for my education, I would like somebody to give me the zoning and the county land regulations that allow the county to allow subdivisions, even minor subdivisions, off of county roads when the parcel doesn't touch a county road, maintained county road, not a private road. So that's news to me, and I would like that. I would like to see where the ordinance is that allows that for my understanding. And the other question I have is, in this mile or so private road, is the owner, the applicant, needing to improve the whole mile road? And if so, and are there going to be CDF turnouts every 300 feet or whatever? Thank you.
So
Well, I believe Amber probably is addressing this, but it's up to Steve.
and what I am, this is Julia Acker-Krog. The regulations for division of land come from Title 17. There is not a prohibition in there. I have to look at exactly where that may be discussed. There's no requirement in there that says you must abut a publicly maintained county road. We've done numerous subdivisions in front of the Planning Commission over the years that have been on private roads as well. And usually you just have to look at the quality of that private road, determining whether or not it is adequate to serve additional parcels up there. And I do see we have Amber has unmuted, so I'm not sure if she has anything more to add on that.
I do. Thank you. This is Amber Fassett from Department of Transportation. Our road standards, our county road standards just require that any sort of discretionary project where there is a private road involved, that the roads that are development standards will apply to that private road between the project and the publicly maintained road. As far as this current road, the conditions are for the entire road from the publicly maintained road to the project. We did do a site visit. One of my staff did a site visit and noted that the road is in really good condition. It seems like it's really adequately maintained. The 16 feet is at its narrowest point. The majority of the road is 20 plus feet. In some places it's 30 feet. And there are plenty of places where 2 cars can pass, where there's turnouts, where there's actually enough width for 2 lanes. And the fire department, actually, I believe it was CAL FIRE, actually noted also that it's a really good, really well-maintained road. So our condition would be that there needs to be 8-inch minimum thickness of Class 2 base. So one of the things that I discussed with the applicant is some of these roads that have been maintained, in this case, he says for 50 years, frequently with rock, is that sometimes that's already there. So one of the things that we would like to have discretion on is that the applicant can prove to us with engineering tests that either currently exists, or there are also tests that you can do that test the quality of the soil and determine that it's actually not needed if it doesn't exist, because it's really good quality soil. Does that help to answer your question?
Diana, are you comfortable with your answer, with the answer?
Yes, I'll review Title 17, the ordinance, and I'll go through that again for my own education. But the turnouts, I just wanted to know, was there required any fire truck turnouts on a 16-foot road? Just Amber, you could answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I believe the CAL FIRE standard is let me take it off because I'm getting feedback. I believe the CAL FIRE standard is turnouts it's either 300 or 400 feet. But as I stated, this road in most cases is actually much wider than 16 feet. It's 20 feet, 22 feet, even 30 feet in a lot of cases. The 16 feet is small sections, and the applicant would need to meet the turnout requirements if there were sections that didn't meet that.
Amber, is there a road association?
I'm not sure of that. I'm hoping the applicant's here that could answer that question. We actually don't. That's more of a planning department thing to deal with road maintenance agreements.
And if I may, I do want to just address Commissioner Wiedemann's concern again. And Commissioner Wiedemann, I believe, and this is often something that is confused unless you practice with the Division of Land Regulations commonly, major subdivisions and what are termed parcel divisions are the ones that are triggered as needing to be located to a publicly maintained road. Minor subdivisions are not subject to that same criteria. They have different criteria that is required for them. Because major subdivisions is when you're looking at more than 5 parcels being created. So I think you may have been looking at, and it's a little unclear in the code where it just says, it says subdivisions, but what it really is getting after is subdivisions is different than a minor subdivision. So it's a little bit confusing in the terminology, but you are correct, but it is applicable only to major subdivisions.
Marilyn? Greg Nelson here.
Yeah,
Madeline stole my thunder. I'm also interested in requiring a road association. We've had so many problems in the past where we had private road, more than one parcel on a private road, and a road association solves that problem.
In the interest of full disclosure, I should say that I have a nephew who lives on Buckhorn Road. And the road, as far as I know, in the 2 or 3 years that he has lived up there and I have visited, has always been in spectacular condition. I don't know whether they just informally hire somebody to maintain it or whether they have a road association. I was just curious about that. But what I do know is over the last few years, at least, that I have had occasion to use that road, it has been in great condition.
I'm not sure, Greg, about addressing your road association. And I'm sympathetic with your comment because we have, in my 12 years on the Planning Commission, this has come up numerous times. It is only 2 parcels, but I'm not sure, Greg, how you feel on that. Greg, would you prefer to have that as an additional item under the, what's it called?
If I may, my recommendation would be that we hear from the agent and or the owner first to understand what might be already applicable on the site before reaching any sort of decision. And I do see we have the hand up of the agent, Vance Ricks, available on the line if you're ready to hear from the applicant. And
one other question, just quick. How many contiguous parcels are on that road?
I will have to look. Some sort of feedback coming back. If you're not speaking, could you please mute your microphone?
Yeah, Vance has done it.
Okay. All right, so let's see here. So it does look like Marilyn, it appears we have Vance. Let's see if we can hear from Vance Ricks here, who has his hand up. It's coming through.
We don't have him on a video, just audio.
No, and it looks like it's coming through a little garbled on his end. It actually sounds like a cartoon character when it comes through. Vance, I think maybe if you try disconnecting and maybe using the call-in number, that might help. And now I do see we also have the applicant's hand up. So maybe let's go to Chris Obergen and hear from him.
Hopefully my sound comes through a little better than Vance's did.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, I believe the question was how many parcels are contiguous to this particular road. I know the Buckhorn subdivision was done in 1969. It's when the road was built. And if you just count the parcels that are in that, there are 15 parcels. And there are also 2 parcels behind the subdivision that have an easement through it.
Thank you.
Any other information I can give you?
Yes, I think one of the questions was a road maintenance agreement. Is there one?
I have never looked into whether there was one. I know that I receive telephone calls asking me for my dues and I pay them. So I don't know what the formal situation is. I've never asked anyone. I just send them the money when they ask for it.
So one thought that I have here regarding the road maintenance is when Buckman Drive was established, there may have been some level of, when that subdivision was originally done, there may have been some level of road maintenance agreement in there between the property owners. So if the commission does choose to do any level of a condition requiring a road maintenance agreement, I would ask that you include the flexibility for staff to be able to review and determine whether or not there is one already in existence that leads up to this area, because it would be duplicative to require an additional one.
Are you comfortable with that, Commissioner Nelson?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. I did have one question for the applicant. I just, because we did get that change from the Department of Transportation last night, I wanted to clarify that the applicant was aware of that and make certain that they were also comfortable with those changes.
Yes, those were simply to allow the Department of Transportation flexibility and how they applied it. This road's been there for 50 years, and as the planning commissioner indicated, it's a very good road in very good shape and maintained that way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
Marilyn, it also does appear that we have Vance Ricks available now by telephone. So we may want to hear from him as well, if you're okay with that. And Vance, it is *6 to unmute your telephone.
Okay, we'll go ahead with Vance and then Randy after Vance is finished with his comments.
So Vance, again, *6 to unmute the telephone. It looks like you're still muted there. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Now I'm back. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Vance Ricks. I'm a land surveyor, and I'm working with Chris Obergen on this. In regards to the road association, this road was created by a parcel map, or in reality nowadays it'd be a major subdivision, in 1969. 15 parcels part of this subdivision that created this road easement, which is now Buckhorn. Now, during that time, there was CC&Rs prepared for the project, and I have the book and page. Now, those are covenants, you know, restrictions, and that should address the road maintenance agreement, which is all these owners own to the center line of this 70-foot wide easement that goes out. So when you're talking about road maintenance agreement, that was probably already addressed back in '69 when the subdivision was approved.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, I think we had Randy. Did you have a question first?
What of the issues I always have looking at maps is there is no map here that actually labels the roads. So when you're looking at the map, you're not, I mean, I can figure, because I knew it was south of, was it Muir Hill Road? But there's nothing on the map that says Muir Hill Road or Buckhorn Road. And I think it's clear that at least one of the maps has the road on it. Another issue I have is item 7D, and we're talking about erosion control. The last sentence under 7D says erosion control measures shall be in place prior to October 1st. But then in item E, it says all earth moving activities shall be conducted between May 13th and October 15th. And it's really difficult to conduct earth moving activities if you've already had the straw wattles and straw blankets in place. So what I would like to see is the last sentence of 7D, which state that erosion control measures shall be in place prior to October 15th if there is a chance of rain of 30% or more as per the National Weather Service. And I think that would make it clear for the operator. And I just think there's some confusion there.
This is Sam Vandewater. That wouldn't be a problem if there's concurrence from the commission. This is just standard conditions that we apply to most of all of our subdivisions, but it's more than it's easy enough to amend it if there's concurrence from the planning commission.
Could you repeat?
We're having a little bit of, at least I'm having a little bit of a problem understanding Randy. I'm not sure about his speaker, or are you too, Diana?
Yes.
You couldn't hear me? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Let me get closer. What I'm talking about is item 7D, and the last sentence of 7D states that erosion control measures shall be in place prior to October 1st. But then if you go to item 7E, it says all earth moving activities shall be conducted between May 15th and October 15th. We've got a 2-week period there where you're supposed to have your erosion control items in place, but you're also capable of continuing to work. And that makes it difficult on the operator. So what I would like to see is the last sentence of item D, which state that erosion control measures shall be in place prior to October 15th if there is a chance of rain of 30% or more as per the National Weather Service. That way the operator isn't trying to place his erosion control items on the project at the same time, trying to continue to operate. Last 10 years, we've just had these crazy winters where we don't get rain until Thanksgiving, and it just makes it difficult.
This year, I think we might be looking at Christmas, but regardless. So I think if I'm understanding correctly, are you kind of combining 7D and E into one paragraph?
No, they don't need to be, because item D, what is actually, all it does is actually allow you to do what you can do in item E. The way it's written now, item D doesn't allow you to operate in item E because you're having to place your erosion control structures in place when you actually have a 2-week period there where you should be able to operate. So with this, you don't have that confusion.
So it's keeping the conditions separate, but it's aligning the dates so that way they are consistent. So, and then adding the additional language that would also require that you wouldn't have to install erosion control measures unless there is rain in the forecast.
I actually really like the idea of tying it to the actual weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I think it's a good idea. I think Randy's idea is a great idea.
Okay.
I do too.
Okay, I think we have consensus.
I had one other item. Item 8, maybe this is just my ignorance. I'm not sure, what are we referring to in item 8?
Sorry, what's the confusion?
Item number 8, Randy, what is that? What are we referring to? That California Department of Forestry letter of June 6, 2017.
So when the applicants apply for a minor subdivision, part of that application material is an application to CAL FIRE and a approved CAL FIRE application project. So when they receive that, the California Department of Forestry provides a number of recommended conditions and for the subdivision, for example, like defensible space or road requirements and turnaround requirements. So that condition is really just having the applicant adhere to what CAL FIRE requested initially when the applicant applied for the subdivision.
Yes, Diana?
I had a question for Vance, and I appreciate the sharing of the 17 parcels or 15 parcels contiguous and 2 that have easements through parcels. And you mentioned the CC&Rs, right? And that could address some of the commissioners' concerns around road maintenance. And Vance, if you have that handy, is that in there? And if that's in there, we could just put a line saying per the subdivision conditions of the CC&Rs, right, to be maintained. So that would be, it's cohesive.
Sorry, and yes, I'm going to chime in. And Vance, I apologize. I'm going to chime in here. I would not, planning staff would not be comfortable with referencing compliance with CC&Rs, as that is a landowner to landowner agreement. It really is not something regulated by our office.
Okay.
You are correct. So the road maintenance, since it's private, in any agreements will be between, parcels 1 through 15 that are front Buckhorn Road. And from the sound of it, with Mr. O'Bergen up there, that is in place already. It's no similar to Black Bark Trail up here in Redwood Valley, the bigger subdivisions that we have that all front these private road easements. And the maintenance agreement there too, with the CC&Rs, which are subject to that subdivision only.
Carolyn?
Yes, Commissioner Nelson?
So, Vance, Commissioner Nelson here, Greg Nelson. So I'm not quite following you. Do the CC&Rs constitute a road maintenance agreement?
Sometimes they do. That is correct.
No, not on this particular Buckhorn Road. Do they substitute for a road maintenance agreement?
I don't have that. Okay. I don't have that document in front of me. I'm just looking on the right-hand side of the subdivision map that references them. They're handwritten in when they get recorded concurrently.
Thank you. I understand better now. Vandy, do you have the CC&Rs?
I do not.
So again, I'm going to just state, so CC&Rs are not something regulated by our office. Those are landowner to landowner agreements, and we do not review those. We do not enforce those. So the CC&Rs are not something we would typically be looking at when we're looking at these projects. And if I understand correctly, the CCNRs are applicable to the lots that were originally created as part of Buckman Drive when that subdivision was done. It would not necessarily extend those same restrictions to additional parcels being created beyond that original subdivision. CCNRs are usually tied to your original parcels that were under that original subdivision.
So bottom line, we don't know if there's a road agreement or not. Am I correct?
So what my thought would be, still, if that's something that the commission's interested in, to put that flexibility in the condition that if there is already a road maintenance association that is deemed acceptable to the county council's office, that is sufficient to cover that compliance with that condition. And if there is not, then they will create a road maintenance association. But again, it's not going to, I want to be clear, it's not going to extend beyond the parcels that are subject to this subdivision. So there's already the CCNRs that address the lower portion. We're talking about doing a road maintenance agreement for the 2 parcels here.
Thank you.
So this, may I, Chair Ogle? This is where it, you know, I kind of concur with Greg. This is where it gets kind of muddy, the waters. Now we're adding more parcels, which might be possible, one more parcel in this case, and a new landowner, and that new landowner might not be subject to the CCNRs, is how I interpret what you're talking about, Ms. Acker. Now, and what we know in the past, and I certainly know this, that there's been a lot of road associations when these things happen, there's breakdowns because other people feel like they don't need to be part of that association. So there's got to be some way that we can just, and this is only one parcel, I understand. There's got to be some way, some language that would protect this new parcel to be part of a road maintenance program. I know we're leaving it to, this is where it gets sticky. You always leave it to the civil courts if something were to go awry, and not the planning. So is there a way we could have some kind of language that we can move forward with this, that just protects the neighbors? And we're probably only, there's 15 parcels, 17 parcels, when we're probably only alerting 4 people that this is minor subdivision is going to happen because of the 300-foot contiguous notification. Is there a way we can address this in a simple format for right now to move forward on this?
Yes, like I said, I think you could add a condition requiring a road maintenance agreement, but adding in that flexibility that if one already exists that covers this, that's deemed acceptable to county council's office, then that requirement would go away, that's already been satisfied.
Because this is a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes.
It's
but Julie, if I say this gets approved, and then someone comes in to build on this second parcel, they're going to have to show they have an easement. That isn't county council going to review that easement and make sure it not only that it exists so that you can access the parcel, but there's no requirement then to check to make sure they're a part of the road maintenance. There's no, and we have no obligation to do that.
That's correct.
Under Title 17. Is it under Title 17?
When a parcel is actually developed in the future, once this has been created, our office is not, easements are landowner to landowner agreements.
Well,
we do
not
force
I
those,
know
so we're not.
I know we have no authority because those are between private parties. I get that. But, you know, if somebody goes out there today and creates an easement and creates 15 parcels around it, who's checking that easement to make sure? Does the county council check that out and us to make sure it's got road maintenance agreements amongst the parties that buy those parcels? And being, you know,
not unless it's part of a.
everything I've ever subdivided is on a public street, so it's never an issue,
Exactly.
you know, right?
Not that there is no requirement to check it unless they're coming in and requesting to formally subdivide an area. So say I have a neighbor and I want to give my neighbor an easement. That is something done totally outside of the county permitting system and county process. We would record the document and it's an agreement between us. So if my neighbor violates the easement, I take them to civil court, something like that.
But wouldn't the reality be, Julia, that person's not going to, that by granting this additional easement and access to this road, this private road, they would never give them the easement unless they probably paid or were a part of the maintenance of that road, right? I would think. These parties. But maybe I'm wrong, Christian. I don't know.
If I just may address that, Madam Chair, I would say that's sort of typically how that would work, right? The idea is that the
Could you address who you are, please? I'm not sure everyone knows who you are.
Oh, sorry, Christian Curtis, County Council. Just typically, yes, the nature of the transaction would be that usually when you, at the time that you grant an easement, that you make some sort of transfer of land, that's usually when you ask for the consideration. You ask for either just give me the money, or I'll give this to you in exchange for you agreeing to be part of the road maintenance agreement, et cetera. On the building side, I don't believe that there's anything that happens on the building permit check that would look at issues of access. It's really on the planning side, the land use side, when the subdivision is occurring, that you look at whether or not there's appropriate access. That being said, just to go back to a prior point that was made a little bit earlier, I just want to echo what Ms. Acker had said, in that there's a lot of reasons that we advise the county not to be conditioning things on compliance with CCNRs or compliance with specific agreements between the private parties. And part of that is that there's a lot of situations in which there may be a disagreement as to the meaning of the agreement between the parties, or as to whether it still has legal effect. There can be issues of waiver, there can be issues of modification. And a lot of that is things that the county is just really ill-equipped to be able to adjudicate. That really is something a court can rule on, but asking a county planner to try and take evidence and consider what the ultimate legal effect is, and that's really something that a judge needs to do, not a county planner.
But hey, Christian, this is Brent Schultz, Planning and Building Service Director. I agree with you, because all the property rights issues I've dealt with, I've never gotten an easement unless I agreed to be a part of the association and paying for maintenance. I think that's where the parties are notified they want to tie into this easement, and then they work it out there. We just make sure before we issue a permit, one, that this minor subdivision is conditioned that there's an easement, and two, before we issue a permit, that easement actually was recorded, it's there, the subdivision is recorded, it's a legal parcel, right? That's what we're doing.
And can I say one thing, if you guys have a chance? Vance Ricks here again. And since we have Christian on the county council on board, just so the commission knows, California has civil codes that address easement. And Civil Code 845, subsection B, says if easements is owned by more than one person or is attached to parcels of land under different ownership, the cost of maintaining it and repairs shall be shared by each owner of the easement. So you've already had this addressed by Civil Code, which takes care of the Road Owners Association, which is, addition there too. So as your question as regards to a private easement, and since county council's on the line, he can confirm this also.
Thank you, Vince. Christian, can you confirm that?
I will say I don't have the specific site in front of me. I was pulling it up, but I will say that there are general principles when it comes to easement, that the user of the easement may have an obligation as to maintenance. There may be essentially rights of contribution, et cetera.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wiedemann.
Yes, the question I have is, okay, so I'm assuming that when this major subdivision that was done back in 1969, that all these parcels have deeded easements to their parcel. And it's not just by prescriptive rights. Am I correct with that?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That would be coming out of the subdivision.
Okay, then we're
Yeah.
creating another parcel, a new parcel. Is that going to have a deeded easement defined, or is that going to be a prescriptive right?
It's
It will
deeded
be deeded.
easement. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I'd like to add one thing on those, what Christian said. I've written a lot of those CCNRs and I wrote them different every time. And I would hate to have a planner involved with the intricacies of the CCNRs, and yeah, 69 one, who knows how that was written, but anyway, my two cents.
Okay, thank you, Director Schultz. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Oh, Marilyn, it appears
Total, you're muted.
That. We are now at the public hearing, so we will open the public hearing. Did we have any telecomments or anyone online to address this issue?
There was no telecomments submitted or any written correspondence.
Thank you, Jim. Then we'll close the public hearing. Any final remarks from staff?
not particularly, Sandy, unless you have anything.
No, I was just gonna say I have no comments at this time.
Thank you. So I think at this point, we're going ahead with the changes as recommended by the Department of Transportation. And I think that was it. So I guess we are looking for a motion.
If I may, Marilyn, I
Sorry.
believe it was also the change that Commissioner Jacobson had suggested.
To condition 7D.
Yes, thank you very much. Correct. So do we have a motion for this item?
I'll move the proposed resolution as amended at this meeting.
Thank you, Madeline. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank
Greg
you, Greg.
Nelson.
Excellent. And Marilyn, I just want to clarify for the benefit of everyone to what those condition modifications are. So that's a modification to condition 7D, which is going to align the date to October 15th and tie it also to a rain event where there's a greater than 30% chance as requiring that erosion control. And then condition 21 revised to reflect the 16-foot roadway per Department of Transportation, as well as condition 25, also to reflect the 16-foot wide roadway per transportation, and the additional sentence being added to allow for alternatives to be approved by the Department of Transportation to conditions 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, and 26.
Okay, thank you. It appears that you left out 23. Does that not apply to that same request?
Vandy, so condition 23 already has that language in it, so it was not included in the memo.
Okay, thank you, Vandy. Then I think we're looking for a vote. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nelson,
Oh, you're muted, Greg.
That was I.
Commissioner Holtkamp,
Aye.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Aye.
and Chair Ogle.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
And
Thank
thank you, Vandy. Thank you for the applicants as
Thank
well being
you.
online.
Good morning.
Okay.
Discussion.
We'll go on to agenda item number 6B, case A underscore 20190003 for the Capistan Ranch LLC. Do we have a staff report, please?
Good morning, Commissioners. Russ Ford, Staff Planner. So yeah, this is Agricultural Preserve Application A1903 for Capistrano Ranch LLC. We'll just do a quick background here. The Capistrano Ranch owns approximately 18,000 acres in the Round Valley area. More than 14,000 of that is already under a Williamson Act contract. Calf and beef production is the primary business of the ranch, with the contracted lands being used for grazing and hay production. So the applicants are requesting to add another 982 acres into preserve and contract. That's comprised of 3 non-contiguous groups of parcels within Round Valley. And on the maps, we've identified those parcel groups as Bentley Group, which is 120 acres, the Fairbanks Group, which is 182 acres, and the Hayshed Group, which is 680 acres. So the zoning of those parcels is rangeland or ag, and so they are compliant with the zoning. The only issue that really came up that's worth some minor discussion here is you'll see that the project went to the RLPC several times. So as you know, in 2016, when the county revised the Williamson Act policies and procedures, they added a financial requirement. The issue in this case was trying to parse out the financial income for these 3 separate parcels, 3 separate parcel groups, as opposed to the entire ranch, which was a significant challenge. So what we ended up doing was allowing the applicants to substitute capital improvements on those, basically how much money they spent on fencing the properties and investment. And that's allowed under table 5.2 of the policies and procedures. So we got those numbers back. They easily met the financial qualifications for it. So staff is recommending approval of the project.
And I do want to note one change to the resolution, and I want to say thank you to Chair Ogle for bringing this to our attention yesterday evening. I'm going to share the screen briefly just to show, it's more of a Scribner's error and just correcting that. So what you should see here is the resolution, and it's just in this first whereas clause. We had just one minor error in this assessor parcel number. So that's just being corrected to ensure we have the correct APN here. So if you see, we had an extra 0, and then we just needed to replace the 0 here in the middle with a 1. And then this is the correct assessor parcel numbers otherwise, and no other changes to the resolution at this time. So, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing then. I just wanted to make sure that that correction was noted.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Anything else for this? Well, I think Mr. Ford has finished the staff report. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. I just have one question. I don't know if you even know the answer. I see where this is, the applicant is a Capistan Ranch LLC. Do we have any names on that, or who the owners are on that? I know it's not required. I was just curious if we have that.
The primary agent that I've dealt with in on this project is Robert Lashinsky, Bob Lashinsky. Beyond that, I don't know the owners personally. No.
Okay, thank you, Russell. No other questions for staff. Is that correct? Okay, seeing none. Do we have the applicant or the agent online?
No, we do not. It does not appear that they requested to speak at all on this item. Oh, and Marilyn, you are muted again.
All right, thank you, Julia. Okay, then we will open the public hearing. Do we have any comments or anyone on the telecomment to address this item?
I did not receive any telecomments or public comments on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Then we'll close the public hearing, and any other discussion with the commission members? Seeing none, then do we have a motion to approve this item?
And just to be clear, this would be a motion making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on this item, just for clarification.
Thank you, Julia.
So this is Commissioner Nelson. I would make the recommended motion on page 3 to include the environmental findings, the agricultural findings, and the wing cleanup findings.
And
I'm sorry, Greg.
I would just want to ask the motion maker to ensure that that includes the revisions to the resolution on the assessor parcel numbers. Oop, and Greg, you are muted.
Yes, I would like to include that.
I second.
All right, thank you. So that was a motion by Nelson, a second by Wiedemann.
Right.
Correct. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Was that Nelson?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Holcamp,
Yes.
Chair Ogle.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Matter will be referred to the Board of Supervisors at a future date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Then we'll go on to item number 7, matters from staff. Are there any matters from staff?
Yes, we just want to have one minor update. And so, you know, I know the Planning Commission, there was the Oak Woodlands workshop that occurred at the end of last month. And what we, at that meeting, it had been discussed about bringing it back on December 17th. Since that time, we will be postponing that date to ensure we have adequate time to address all of the comments and concerns that were expressed at that meeting. So we just wanted to make sure that was announced to you as the commissioners, so you were not expecting to see that item back on the 17th. It looks like it would be coming back in the new year in 2021.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Will we still be having a meeting on December 17th then?
Yes, you will. We actually have a rather full agenda for that day. So I think we have 5 items tracking for that agenda right now. So.
All right. All right.
Yes.
Happy end of the year, huh? Okay. See, do we have any other items from the commission?
I had one question, Marilyn.
Yes, go ahead.
Whatever happened to the groundwater study request on the October 15th that I believe you made, Marilyn? I was just curious if we ever get that.
We are still working on trying to agendize that for a future meeting. Our challenge is we can't necessarily. I'm sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback here. There we go. Okay, we think that should handle it. So what we will be bringing that back for a future meeting. The challenge has been we want to make time on an agenda for that. And Commissioner Jacobs, back from your that.
Okay. I was wondering, where are we with appointing another commissioner from the coast?
That actually is outside of our hands. That would be that the District 4 supervisor needs to appoint a new member. And then as you are very likely aware, there will be 2 new supervisors coming in to the Board of Supervisors in January as well. So we have that missing seat right now for the 4th District, and unsure when that will be filled. That's really outside of our office. It's handled by the district supervisor themselves for doing that appointment.
Okay, thank you.
And just to make sure I fully addressed Commissioner Wiedemann's question before too, we will bring that back for an agenda. Our challenge has been, we just have had very full sort of calendars. So we have not wanted to overload a calendar, especially when we have Airport Land Use Commission in the afternoon as well. So we are likely going to be looking at in the new year for having that agendized for discussion. Okay. I think I saw an okay, good from Wiedemann. You were muted there.
I
Okay.
did too. Okay, it looks like we've got a few people on now, so we'll go on to agenda. If there are no other comments from the commission, which I don't see, so we will go on to item number 9, approval of minutes. We have one for October 15th, 2020. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Madeline. And a second?
Second.
Diana, okay. Do we need a roll call vote on this? I guess we do, since we're virtual, huh?
Hold on just one moment. It looks like, did we have one edit we wish to make on it?
It should be inquiry.
Oh, yes. Okay. So on page 3 of the October 15th minutes, under 8A and the second paragraph, the very last sentence, it says Mr. Davis stated he will do the follow-up regarding this injury, and it should say inquiry rather than injury.
Good.
I didn't even notice that.
I didn't either. You should pick up on those, and I did read that. Yes. Okay, so do we have a motion then to approve the minutes with the correction? That was, I believe Madeline made the motion and Diana seconded.
Yes.
And you're comfortable with the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Then we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson,
That was a yes.
Commissioner Holcamp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Chair Ogle.
Yes, thank you. And then we have approval of minutes for November 5th, 2020. Did we have any changes in those minutes, staff, or corrections?
No corrections that we identified.
Corrections from the commission? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 5th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Randy and Greg seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Holcamp,
Yes.
Chair Ogle.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
And Chair Ogle, I was just reminded by one of our staff as well that we also are still missing, we have some vacancies on some of our other bodies. So just putting that out there, that there is still a vacancy on our Archaeological Commission for an industry representative. So I always encourage folks take a look at the boards and commissions page and look at the various vacancies there. And if anyone has an interest, please do volunteer to be part of these wonderful committees. So.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
That was by Randy, second by Greg. Can we just do?
Aye.
Yes, aye.
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 Okay, I think we just.
Majority of ayes.
Yes, and I'm an aye as well. So thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. See you in a couple.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Thank you, staff.
Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah.